say that, you know what, I didn't come here to be I didn't come here to possess anything or possess anyone, because at the end of the day, this child is not for nobody except for the Most High, except for the All, except for the universe, except for the energy that is.
You were my reflection, perceived it was perfection. To my discretion, seems like it was mostly a projection of insecurities that failed to fan the trees. The trauma was taken, ignoring the triggers that make the big picture.
Why we are having this epidemic of so many people worried about who's the pappy, okay? You know, there's shows on basic television like Maury and all these other shows that talk about, oh, you know, they do who's the pappy. Like, they literally go to these shows, or even in real life, people go through the motions of obsessing and worrying about whether or not this is my child's father on the woman's end, or in the man's mind, is this my child? Is this even my child? And these questions come along with a lot of trauma, a lot of unhealed wounds, a lot of issues in terms of who they are in general, and relating to other people. So once you finally get in a relationship with someone, you know, you've got all these wounds and traumas, and now you don't even really trust the person that you're with, and you know, you feel the need to, in the woman's case, you feel the need to be with multiple men, or in the man's case, you don't trust this woman because you are scarred. So it drives people to feel like they need to know, you know, who the pappy is, and is this my child? Am I the father? Etc., etc. So I just want to mention a scenario that came across me recently, and this is mainly the reason why I chose to speak on this topic. And it had to do with a situation where you know, the guy wasn't sure if his girlfriend was faithful or not, because he was aware that she may have had some other love interests. And so she got pregnant, and the whole time he decided to, you know, stick it out with her, and they have the baby. So though he was sticking it out with her, this feeling of, you know, I don't even know if this is my child or not, was stuck with him for a while. And the young lady, I mean, by the time she ended up having to go into labor, she lost the child. The child did not make it. And so as this person is telling me the story of what happened, he was very adamant about, you know, but I didn't even know if that was my child. Like, you know, after everything happened, you know, I was just real skeptical about, is this my child? Is this my child? Is this my child? And I think for men and women both, in women's case, they can get very hung up on trying to prove that someone is the father in order to get some type of approval from the man, some type of assistance from the man, some type of help from the man, some type of energy from the man, because they feel depleted internally. And in the man's case, you know, they just don't, their egos are fragile, and they don't want to feel played. They don't want to feel like I got played, or, you know, this ain't even my child. It's very ego-ish on both parts, but they play out in different ways. And so what I have to say to this is, at one point, the reality is there was no such thing as a DNA test. There was no such thing as, I need to prove and find out who the pappy is. at one point in life, women just got pregnant, and whoever was gonna be responsible was gonna be responsible. And now we live in a society which is patriarchal in nature, where the woman and the children are literally worth nothing unless they have a man taking care of them, unless they have this power figure in the home who is contributing to them in some type of way. And so for women, a lot of times they feel worthless. They feel all of these feelings of lack and, depleted self-worth when they feel like the man that they had a child with or got pregnant with is either not the man for them, or he doesn't want them, or whatever the case. And it can be a real shot at, their ego, because they've been conditioned to think that in order for them to be anyone in life, they have to have a man in the household to take care of them, to take care of their children, to provide. And though those are, valid things to want as a woman, because of the societal conditioning, there's many women who feel like I literally have to make this man see that he's the daddy, or I literally have to go jump through hoops and do all of this stuff to get his energy so I can feel like worth something. And on behalf of the men, I see that it can get very territorial, and it can get very, if that child isn't mine, then I don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't want nothing to do with that child, because that's not my child, or whatever the case. And which usually that is the case whenever a man is skeptical and doesn't trust the woman. So what I have to say to that is, there is, at the end of the day, nothing that will prove to you that a woman is bearing your child specifically. Now that we have the prevalence of science and DNA tests and all of the things like that, it's made people very dumb in regards to what really matters in life, and how much bad energy you can put onto a child in the making, in a woman's womb, just by carrying this, is that my child, or is he the, just by carrying this energy. The child is a life, period. And if people don't start to understand that life is the only thing that should be important to you, then there's gonna be this perpetuated drama amongst life coming into this world. And that's why so many women are not even having children. Their children are dying on sight once they come out, or they're having miscarriages. The energy we put behind these things matter. And so what I'm saying is, stop worrying about who's this child for, and is this my child, and what's the that's all drama. It's all unnecessary, and none of it matters at the end of the day. What matters is that there's a life brewing inside of you, and whether the child is for him or whether the child is for him, whoever you want to put the stamp on, at the end of the day, it's mama's baby and it's papa's maybe. And whatever father figure, or whatever energy that wants to come into this child's life and love it regardless, okay? Because I think personally it is different when a mother births her child and has a relationship with her child. It is different because chemically we are attached to this child chemically. We nurse the child, breastfeed the child, which adds to more chemical attachment. We've, developed a relationship with the child in our body. There's a lot of things that can tie into the spiritual significance of having a child as a woman, and how that can, strengthen a bond so strong to where, it's something that only a woman who's ever had a child will really understand. And so there is a love that is innately present whenever a woman gives birth to a child. And so that's why it's mama's baby and papa's maybe most times. Regardless, the reality is a lot of people today are struggling to love. They're struggling to love themselves. They're struggling to love their life. And there are a lot of environmental, chemical, societal reasons for this. But at the end of the day, it's no excuse for being a bad person, for being a energetically dense person, for being someone who just adds weight to people's lives and people's hearts and people's minds. So if you want to free yourself from all of this gunk that you are carrying around, it's really, really time for you to stop looking at things in ego mode, in possession mode. Though the ego is important and it's here to protect us on many levels, there is a time and a place to be ego-centered. And when it comes to bringing a life into this world, when it comes to a precious child that was blessed into your life, wasn't a burden, it was a blessing that you can't see at this point in time because you're so worried about who is this. You take it upon yourself to spark the love inside of you, to say that, you know what, I didn't come here to possess anything or possess anyone, because at the end of the day, this child is not for nobody except for the Most High, except for the All, except for the universe, except for the energy that is. And so just as fast as you argue about it and create all of this chaotic energy surrounding it, is just as fast that it can be taken away from you. And it's time for a lot of people to start valuing and uplifting and having reverence for life, period, and respecting all life, period. So that's pretty much all I had to say about that. If there is a child in your life and you're in one of those situations where you're like, who's the papi? Who's this? Who's that? I highly suggest that you start looking at your values, looking at your principles, and taking a moment to really consider if this is something that's of utmost importance, and if it really dictates whether or not you would be a role of love in this child's life. Because regardless of the situation, it's about love. Do you love this woman? Do you love this man? Do you love this child? If not, then you're not the daddy. You are not the person that's supposed to be in this child's life. It's all about love. So you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Feel free to, say maybe a scenario that you went through. And I will see you all in the next video.